bagong anyo.
Isang bansang may bagong sigla.
Dahil sa ikaw at ako,
Natuto sa prinsipyong
tunyo at serbisyong totoo.
Kahalintulad ni Kristo,
Sa puwarang Katoliko, pagkakaisa
sa tulong at gawa,
masasalamat,
sa lahat ng alaala,
pagbabago,
ang misyon sa mundo,
magagawa sa biyaya ni Kristo.
ang kabataan
May hamon at alay,
sa ating bayan,
maging lingkod at
ng pagbabago.
sa misyon sa mundo. Birhen Maria ang gabay at ang modelo. Sa mundong may bagong anyo, isang bansang may bagong sigla. Dahil sa ikaw at ako, natuto sa prinsipyong tunyo at serbisyong totoo. Kahalintulad ni Kristo, sa puwarang Katoliko. May bagong anyo.
Bago,
May bagong sigla. Komunyo,
mundo,
servisyo
isang may bagong sigla.
Dahil sa ikaw at ako,
Tuto sa prinsipyong
yo at serbisyong totoo.
mahalin tulad ni Kristo.
Sa puwarang Katoliko, pagkakaisa
Sa tulong at gawa,
masasalamat,
sa lahat ng alaala,
pagbabago,
ang misyon sa mundo,
magagawa sa biyaya ni Kristo.
ang kabataan
May hamon at alay,
sa ating bayan,
maging lingkod at
ng pagbabago,
sa misyon sa mundo. Birhen Maria ang gabay at ang modelo. Sa mundong may bagong anyo,
morning, everyone. This is CAP, and we're coming to you live. We're doing legs of webinars for teachers and coaches to make sure that great things work for distance learning. I'm Narcy Adorjanicio, trustee of CAP Region 3. I'm happy to welcome everyone in this webinar. Let us start with a prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, this is the day you have made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. It doesn't look like we thought it would look, nor will tomorrow and the days to come likely be executed in the way we expected and prepared for. Help us to see the good in each day. Help us to find reasons to rejoice and ways to be glad. Litter our lives with moments of laughter and lightheartedness, even in these extreme dark and trying times. Birthdays are still be celebrated each day. The sun keeps coming up and you remain the same. We are created in your image to do good and great things to bring glory to your name. Each one of us, both teacher and student, were created with specific purpose. Help teachers to have confidence in their craft. They were meant to teach, educate, coach, counsel, and lead. They are needed, appreciated, and loved. Their work and their efforts are never in vain. When it is hard to see the good grab our attention, Father, when we are sad and miss school, our normal routine, and our teammates and coaches, encourage our spirits, sustain us through our very real fear of what is and will happen in our world. God, remind us we are not alone, even when we feel isolated. This we ask in the name of Jesus. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Parang ang lungkot naman, mag-isa lang ako dito. We're back for another webinar presented by CAP. Actually, CAP is doing a lot of webinars now to help our teachers, our instructional leaders, and even our administrators. We've got you covered. That is why we are called CAP. Before we proceed, let me just give you some few reminders. Let me run through these reminders. First, all videos of the webinar sessions will be saved in the video section of our official Facebook page and in CAP channel on YouTube. If you miss out a session, you can just go to these sites to view them again. All right? So if you miss this, don't worry, you have another chance to view them. Second, as the talk is ongoing, you may post your questions at the comment section of this Facebook page or in the YouTube Live. We will be asking these questions during the Q&A portion. And third, please be informed you will receive the certificate of attendance only upon completion of the evaluation form. The link will be posted in the comment section later and will be available until 7 p.m. today, November 3, 2020. Again, only until 7 p.m. today. The links to the evaluation forms can be found in the comment section of both the FB Live and YouTube video. We would like to acknowledge our sponsors, major sponsors, Intelligente Publishing for this webinar, and of course, Raxo City as our web host. We will now proceed to the webinar proper. Let me introduce to you the English Subject Area Coordinator of the Junior High School Department of Claret School. By the way, Father Mao Ulep, thank you very much for sharing this precious moment with all of us, with CAP. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Pauline Datu.
Okay, so last time we listened to two speeches, right? And we evaluated these two speeches according to what particular criterion or criteria? How do we compare? How did we decide that one speaker, a certain president, was better in delivering his speech than another president? What criteria or points for evaluation did we consider last time? Anybody who can recall? Mr. De Vera?
Miss, one of them is tone.
Tone, very good. What else? Mr. Azarquan?
Miss Coherence.
Coherence of speech. Mr. Dimok?
Miss Fluency.
Fluency. And the last one? So we have tone, coherence, fluency. And the fourth one, which pertains to the grammar, the proper pronunciation, vocabulary, choice of vocabulary. All these pertain to what aspect? Mr. Valmores?
Is the correctness.
Correctness or accuracy.
Accuracy.
Okay, but thank you very much. That's very good. And all these four aspects pertain to skills and strategies under verbal communication. All right? So observing fluency, appropriate tone. So it's not just having a tone or sound when you speak, but observing appropriate tone and choosing the right words, correct grammar, and even having coherence in the ideas from what you said first, how you introduced the topic, how you developed it, how you ended it, and how you would leave an impact to the audience or to the listeners are all part of verbal communication strategies. All right? Now, today, I hope you can see my presentation. Can you see it?
Yes, Miss.
Okay, today we are going to evaluate another speech of another president. So from US, we of course this time go to the local. Okay, so we'll be evaluating President Rodrigo Duterte's speech later on, right? And evaluating it using a different set of criteria. All right, but first, we are all Filipinos. I'm pretty sure you know President Rodrigo Duterte quite well. No, whenever you see him appearing on TV, when you read headlines about him, news, and so on and so forth. All right. So based on what you know, how you know the president, and also based on the photo I'll be showing you, as well as context or occasion provided alongside the photo, I want you to caption each photo. Maybe a word, a phrase, or a sentence that would state what the president wants to say in that occasion. All right? What do you think does the president want to say during that occasion to that particular audience? So again, your answer may be just a word, phrase, or sentence, captioning the photo. Ready? So of course, you're going to key in your answer via the meeting chat. Ready, everyone?
Yes, Miss.
Yes.
Okay, the first photo is, what does the president want to say during this occasion when he was addressing the COVID-19 violators? Key in your answer in the meeting chat. Let's see. What have you stated? I am angry, yes. Oh, Mr. Azarcon, seriously? All right, but not from you, I suppose, but from the president. Papatayin ko kayong lahat. I am angry, yes. Okay. Okay. Right. Moving on. Moving on. We have this photo. On being criticized by human rights activists. Okay? On being criticized by human rights activists. I guess this is more subtle compared to the first one. So I hope your captions would also be more subtle or not. Let us see. From Mr. Azarcon, bahala kayo. Okay. What else? Is that it? Would you just tell people, bahala kayo? Maybe. Okay, what else? Let's get from the others more possible captions. You have no right to judge. You have no right to judge. How would the president likely address human rights activists? Pakod? Is that pagod or bagod? Ay, pagod na ako. Says fallacies? What do you mean, Mr. De Vera?
You know, miss, like just blatant stuff. Like, that doesn't make sense.
Oh, okay. All right. Mm-hmm. Third photo. Well, he's not always, I suppose, that angry. Because in this photo, when he was appealing to the people for discipline in order for the government to be able to contain the pandemic, the virus, this was how he looked like. All right, so how would you caption this? How would you caption this? As President Duterte was delivering a speech appealing to people for discipline in order to contain the virus. What do you think? Did he say? Considering this photo. Okay, we don't have any answer yet. Is it quite difficult to for this photo that looks quite different from the first two? I guess we had the so-called Tatay Digong. Okay, so-called Tatay Digong. Oh, but what would he say? What do you think did he say during this time? What did he say? So maybe people would caption it or make a meme out of this so-called Tatay Digong. But what about President Duterte? What do you think did he say looking at this photo in this occasion? Okay, or can we get more answers aside from Mr. De Vera's so-called Tatay Digong? Now we got one from Mr. Lagak. I would like you to follow the guideline for COVID-19 pandemic to assure less casualties. Wow, nice. Could be President soon, Mr. Lagak. Mr. Dimok, we have to help each other. Wow. I guess not only that the picture is different from the first two, but also the captions. The captions that you are now writing has a different tone, if I may say, has a different attitude, no? So how different? How were you able, boys, to caption the photos? Anybody? How were you able? Mr. Lagak. Mr. Lagak, how did you come to that kind of caption? That is quite different from the first set of captions written by your classmates a while ago. So your captions, I would like you to follow the guidelines for COVID-19 to assure less casualties. No, comparing it to asterisk, 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 if you know what I mean. What do you think? How different Ken Duterte's speech is from the others, considering this photo? What do you say, Mr. Azarcon?
Based on his body movements and facial expressions can we try to interpret what he's trying to say?
Uh-huh. So your classmates' answers are quite positive and are quite if I may say, informal, no? Given this photo, what particular you were talking the photo, but what particular observation that you have about the photo that makes it this time positive?
Well, miss his calm expression. Yeah,
What is in his expression?
he,
How can you what description? How can what observation do you have?
well, from his eyebrows alone, he doesn't look mad.
Doesn't look
He's
bad.
composed.
Uh-huh, very good.
He does not show any aggressive imagery, if you would say.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So that composure, that positive image is also shown through his hand gesture. What do you notice about his hand gesture? Other hands, please. Aside from the facial expression, Mr. Valmores.
Miss, as seen in that hand gesture, it looks calm and it's rested, unlike the other parts when it was waving around, Miss.
I guess you're pertaining to this and to this, right?
Yes,
And to
yes, Miss.
this. So I at least it's not, a sign that we don't want to see, right? Okay, but this particular hand gesture, what does this suggest? That always connotes a negative impact or message, Mr. Valmores. What negative
Miss,
impact or message does this hand gesture bring?
Miss, combined with the facial expression, the hand gesture actually like points to someone that it looks like he's done something wrong.
And pointing at someone, really is informal and is not considered very good, very polite, right? Okay, because he's not composed during these times. And that your observation, boys, that he is more composed during this occasion when he was appealing for discipline to people to contain the virus sets a different tone. Okay? And in this occasion, there's even, a music that was played before President Duterte deliver deliver this speech. All right. Now, the important questions that we have to answer regarding those photos are the following. Wait a minute. Let me share again. Let me share again the presentation as I need to include the computer sound. All right. For a while. Okay. Oops. Okay, so these questions, you were giving observations that are very relevant to what we're going to discuss today. No? How can communication talked about specific observations pertaining to facial expression, body movement, hand gestures, and so on and so forth. Now, those are, take note, kinds of communication that are beyond words. Now, there are different cues and aspects that you, listener or audience, need to consider, as well as when you become speaker, that you need to show, that you need to convey not only through words. All right? And this kind of communication that we are going to tackle today and work on today is nonverbal communication. All right? So when you say beyond words, when you say nonverbal, what do you think would be some ways or some strategies that people would utilize? Mr. Tolentino. Mr. Tolentino?
Gestures, boys.
Very good. Mr. Borja?
Body posture.
Posture. Very good. Who else? Mr. Valmores?
Facial expressions.
Good. Mr. Dimok?
Miss, maybe how the body moves, of how it moves, like your hand moving around or anything.
Could as well. Okay, so all these, take note. Although we're not going to discuss everything, but just focus on a few that will be, of course, useful and relevant for your performance task 2, which is rendering a speech. We'll give preview to the following nonverbal communication strategies. So we have paralanguage. So last time we already started discussing about paralanguage, which among tone, cohesion, accuracy, and what's the fourth one? Tone, accuracy, fluency, and cohesion pertains to paralanguage. Is it tone or accuracy of speech? Which between the two pertains to paralanguage? When you say paralanguage, it's beyond the words. Mr. Azarcon?
Miss the tone.
The tone, correct. All right. Gestures, facial expression, head movement, eyes, posture, space, your distance to the person you're talking to. How near, how far you are with the person communicates something, touch, and objects around the speaker. The speaker wears, maybe that the speaker uses, props, even setting, all would contribute, take note, all would contribute for you as an audience or as a listener to effectively comprehend the message. Okay? So it's not just take note one thing that you consider in order to understand somebody's speech or somebody's utterance, but a lot more. And it is very important for you guys to know about all of this in order for you, at the end of the day, not to be judgmental, right? Because sometimes we just see one photo and we're quick to judge the person right away without considering a lot of strategies, a lot of aspects when it comes to communicating. So the following will be our objectives. Actually, still the same since last time, but this time we're going to focus expressing insights based on material viewed, evaluating spoken text using criteria, focusing on nonverbal communication. All right, and we move on to our listening task. I assigned an assignment to you, boys. You need to access that assignment. Your task is, your task is to listen to the speech of President Rodrigo Duterte last April 1 of this year. Only up to 4 and 40 minutes. So the speech is actually very long, but you listen only, criticize, analyze, and evaluate only up to 440 minutes. So what do you need to do? You will have to analyze and interpret his message and his attitude towards the topic and towards the public. You will accomplish a nonverbal communication worksheet. It was already set an assignment due today, analyzing the following. Have you seen that assignment, Blessed Nicasio?
Yes, miss.
Okay, I hope you're accessing it now. So take note, while watching, you have to work on that task. I'm giving you maybe 4 minutes, 6 minutes, 6 minutes to 7 minutes to do the task. Okay, so you just have to note words and phrases, giving your observation, your analysis, and then at the end of the table, you will have to interpret and state in one sentence or two the overall message. Okay. So let me share the video. You also have the link in the assignment, so you may access it yourself.
I am addressing you once again.
Can you hear, boys? Can you hear
Yes,
the video? Okay, again.
About the problem of COVID pandemic. It is getting worse. So once again, I'm telling you the seriousness of the problem and that you must listen. We are awaiting for God's blessing na magkaroon tayo ng vaccine either from sino dyan na bright boy, China, Russia, America. I'm sure kung meron na sila, they will share it with the rest of the world. Naghihintay tayo. Marami hong problema na pumuputok na. Hirap na nga tayo, wala ng trabaho, walang negosyo, and there are people really, you try to mess up with yung kukunti nating, ang ating supply, hanggang dyan lang yan, yung inabot. Kasi hindi natin alam ganun kabilis. In 2 days time, patay ka. So, we are trying to manage na lahat magkaroon equally. Pera, pati pagkain. Ano yung parte ko? Parte mo yan. Pero maghintay kayo. Huwag ninyong gamitin ang puwersa. I'm addressing the left na yung pangbabastos ninyong slamming about the distribution. Remember, kayong mga left, you are not the government. Naintindihan ninyo yan? Hindi kayo nasa gobyerno and you cannot be a part of what we are planning to do for the nation. Intindihin ninyo yan. Kaya huwag kayong maggawa ng kalukuhan at magrayot-rayot dyan because I will order you detained at bibitawan ko kayo pagkatapos na wala na itong COVID. Huwag ninyong subukan ang Pilipino. Do not try to test it. Alam mo, we are ready for you. Gulo o barilan o patayan, I will not hesitate. My soldiers to shoot you, I will not hesitate to order the police to arrest and detain you. Ngayon, pag kayo ang na-detain, bahala kayo sa pagkain ninyo. Kasi ibigay ko doon sa mga loko-loko kagaya ninyo, panggulo, ibigay ko na lang yun sa mga matino pati ng mga ilangan. Ninyo akong takutin ng gulo-gulo. Kasi kung gusto talaga ninyo ng gulo, guguluhin natin ang bayan natin. Total, wala pa naman pagkain. Kung gusto ninyo ng barilan, di sige. Gusto ninyo ng pukpukan, sige. I will not hesitate. My orders are sa police, pati military. Pati mga barangay na pagka ginulo at nagkaroon ng okasyon na lumaban at ang buhay ninyo ay nalagay sa alanganin, shoot them dead.
Okay, that's it. So I'm giving you 2 more minutes to finalize or watch again up to 440 minutes the speech of President Duterte. Now I ended with that shoot them dead because that always captioned his speech during this time. But is that all that he wanted to say? There was even, a meme that was created out of this speech with just that caption, shoot them dead. But again, is that all that he had to say? Is that all that he said during this occasion? Okay, so your overall interpretation, which you will write below the table of the worksheet, is very important because it sums up your analysis and your interpretation of both verbal and non-verbal communication during this time when Duterte rendered a speech. If you need to play again the speech, you have the link provided in the worksheet. So it may not be enough to watch it once to answer the questions and come up with an analysis and interpretation. All right, time is up. How many are done? Please raise your hand. How many are done? Raise your hand. Nobody? Nobody's done yet? All right. Okay, so again, you are free to continue doing that later. Okay. But let us talk about what you have written down so far. Let's talk about your analysis of nonverbal communication skills of the speaker. Answering these questions. Can somebody give us his overall interpretation in one sentence? In one sentence or two only? In one sentence or two only? What is President Rodrigo Duterte's message to the people during that speech? In one sentence only or two, what is President Duterte's message to the people? Let us ask your two classmates, Mr. Azarcon, then Mr. Valmores.
Miss, his message is that we should wait for the vaccine because he is sure that they will give it, they will share it to the world. And for those who are criticizing him, they are not in charge of the government.
Okay, so I think Mr. Azarcon presented two ideas, but I guess the what he mainly wants to say is wait for the vaccine. Okay, what about Mr. Valmores?
It's seen in his nonverbal actions that he is really pissed off about the people who did not really listen to the rules and regulations that the government applied. And this shows that he really wants the people to listen to the rules, Miss.
So what is his message?
Miss, that a lot of people are still not following the rules that the government applied.
Okay, that's good. Now, what do you think is his specific message
Miss, the same
to
thing with
those
what
people? To those people.
Miss, he's not afraid to shoot them dead or actually or do serious things against them, Miss.
Okay, good, good. Okay, so your ideas are good. But if I may choose a particular focus on that speech, I would say it's all about addressing who in particular, who he to whom was that speech particularly addressed? Is it to the Filipinos in general, Mr. Sarkon?
Miss the leftists.
To the
Miss
leftists. All right? So knowing the audience of that particular speech, you would be able to tell and analyze the main point of President Duterte. Now, Mr. Balmores, you're very good when you said when you analyzed his body movements, his aura, his attitude during that time. And so, considering the audience and considering the observations, given his nonverbal strategies, nonverbal communication strategies, what is his message to the leftists? Can somebody rephrase and give us a possible overall message of the president to the leftists? Oh, we already got two clues. Nonverbal communication strategies, the audience, the context. So the audience is to the leftists, or the particular subject of his speech, and then the occasion, the context, time of pandemic, context that there were a lot of maybe protests by the leftists during this time of pandemic. So what is his overall message? Is Mr. Valmores' answer, shoot them down, the only overall message that we can possibly perceive from the speech? Or shall I say that's quite incomplete? Anybody who'd like to add more? Add more to that statement, shoot them dead? I guess that's not the only main point of the speech, because before that directive was given, there were a lot of circumstances, a lot of ifs, a lot of kapag, no, that the president talked about before saying shoot them dead. What do you think? Let us call on Mr. Fragata.
Miss, if you're sabi, President Duterte said that if ever the government officials feel that their life is being threatened, then do not
I'm
get
sorry,
nervous.
louder please, Mr. Fragata.
Miss, if the President Duterte said that if your life is if the government officials are their life is in danger, then that is the only time that they can shoot the people dead.
Okay, thank you for that. There should be a clause, a condition, a conditional, take note, before that, shoot them dead. All right? If you know what I mean when it comes to critically comprehending a text, whether it's a spoken text or a reading text. So it's not enough to just have perhaps the key sentence or the key directive, but you know that if clause, that conditional is necessary for us to understand as critical listeners why a certain directive was given and what circumstances are around as to why this directive is given. All right. So you may think that the directive is still unfair, inhumane, and so on and so forth. All right. But again, the if clause that you need to be able to comprehend from that speech, and even considering the communication strategies, are all needed for you as a listener, as an audience, to understand that you will not just be shot dead if again you would abide by the conditionals. All right? Now, how did you come up with this interpretation, with this overall message? 10 points will be given to all your analyses, to all your observation of the president's non-verbal strategies. Okay? Can somebody give us a sample? Like, can somebody tell us how he said you must listen? You know, there was a statement there, you must listen. How did he say that statement or that directive, you must listen? Did he just say it, you must listen? That way? What's your observation? Mr. Dimok?
Miss maybe is pointing to someone. He's speaking for a specific group of people.
Correct. Now, how did he say you must listen?
Miss, maybe he pointed to at the video, Miss.
Okay, so good pertaining to body language. All right? Thank you, Mr. Dimok. Now, what about pertaining to paralanguage? I mean, the tone, the pitch. How did he say you must listen? Did he simply say you must listen? Or in such a manner that there is a significant pitch, tone? Mr. Estrada?
Ma'am, Duterte said it with a deep tone and said it slowly. I think he's trying to say that he's serious about this.
Okay, correct. Good. So slowly and with stress and emphasis. You must listen, he said. Okay, what about the you are not the government? That was also significant. Now, if you're going to play the video again later, you are not the government. He said it in this way. You are not, or you are not the government. What's the underlying message with the manner that he said the statement? You are not the government. So you cannot be in that position to tell us what to do. How can you describe the paralanguage when he said, you are not the government?
Na-disconnect ata si ma'am.
I think. Oo, nawala na siya.
Akala ko
Pare,
may gagawin tayo.
umiikot na mundo ka, pare.
Sabi mo kay ma'am. Ay, naka muna. Diyos ko.
Di siyempre.
Nangyari kay ma'am? Na-disconnect?
Oh, wala yata. Nawala ng internet.
Nice.
Guys, tumaas niya.
Charles,
Oh,
sabi mo ano,
Naiwan na tayo
na
dito.
pwede ka umalis kasi masakit na ulo mo. Diyos ko.
pare, gusto ko matulog.
No, your academics
Wait,
is...
I got my connection, ano?
Yes, miss. Welcome back.
Welcome back, ma'am.
This is quite frustrating. Okay, but I guess this is normal and I'm not alone, right?
Miss Release.
Yes, that person that chatted was that needs to take medicine. Sure, of course you may. Right?
Thank you, miss.
Okay, and I don't want you to get sick just by taking your English lesson. All right? Okay, I don't know if you were able to hear what I said. I wasn't able to hear Mr. Valmore's answer. Okay, but I was asking
I am
how
addressing
he
you
said this. Can you hear it? Teka, wait.
to try to mess. Ano yung parte ko? I am addressing. Naintindihan ninyo yan? Hindi kayo nasa gobyerno and you cannot be a part of what we are planning to do. Kayo nasa gobyerno. Kayong mga left.
Okay, can you hear? Can you
Yes,
hear,
miss.
boys?
Yes,
Okay,
miss.
take note of this as how he said you are not the government.
You are not the government.
Okay, so how did he say that statement, Mr. Valmores?
It wasn't only like he's really serious about it, but as you can see when he was saying it, he was kind of stuttering, pausing for each of the words. It could mean that he really wants to highlight this message in his speech.
Very good, very good. Pausing per word means he wanted, you're very good, Mr. Valmores, to highlight or to emphasize on every idea that you, pertaining to the leftists, are not, what they are not, the government. All right? So each idea, each word there represents a certain message. Who he was pertaining to and what he was telling this subject or this group of people, what they are or what they are not. All right? So all of those, are essential, boys. Not only the words, not only the verbal communication to understand the message. So with all those stresses, emphasis, pauses, tone of the voice, loudness, high pitch, and even the nonverbal communication, what attitude or tone or emotion can we infer from the speaker, from President Duterte? What attitude, tone, emotion? Mr. Mariano, what do you think?
Pwede ulitin yung message na choppy ka konti.
Sorry. From all those words, and even considering the nonverbal strategies, the pauses, the loudness, the emphasis, the stresses, the high pitch, the low pitch, and so on and so forth, what is President Duterte's attitude, emotion, tone when he rendered that speech? Emotion, attitude, tone.
I think he was confident on what he was saying.
Confident. Confident meaning that he had some conviction. Is that it? He wanted to show conviction. Is that it?
What's conviction?
I'm meaning to say he wanted to show that I am the authority.
Yes.
Right? I guess that's how I can interpret your answer, Mr. Mariano.
I
All
hope
right.
so.
What else? What else? What about Mr. Fragata?
Please.
Overall tone, emotion.
He was very angry.
Angry, yeah, I would agree. He even said there are people really who you I think he was controlling an emotion that was anger, preventing himself from perhaps cursing certain people. Okay, when he said you, well, and then all right, so angry. All right, correct. What else? Last one. Other than angry, other than with conviction, with authority / confidence, what else? Was that only, can we say that he's only angry, Mr. Tolentino?
Miss, he is serious.
Okay. Why do you say so, Mr. Tolentino? That's a very good answer.
Uh, what, ma'am?
Why do you say that he's serious?
Just because
What's your support to prove that he was serious?
is yung the ways of his speaks.
I'm sorry?
The way that he speaks.
So yung overall strategies, you mean? Okay, yeah, that's correct. There was seriousness in the tone. That's why there was even a serious threat at the end, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so take me seriously, take our warning seriously, or else. All right, so all of those are essential again, and this particular nonverbal communication strategies in order for us to critically, take note of the word, critically comprehend a speech. Okay, so we're not going to, at the end of the day, teach you guys only how to speak, but also how to understand first speeches critically. No, considering not only the words said, but also how these words were said. All right. So nonverbal communication pertains to the following. Now, when we say paralanguage, that's the first one. That has a lot of sub-aspects. Okay, so these are all the aspects of paralanguage. Sound of the voice. So take note, there are those that are gifted with good quality of voice, the singers, the good speakers, all right? And, having a good quality of the voice, well that's quite hereditary, or that's natural, no, for people. They're lucky, they're blessed, all right? Because a good quality voice is also pleasant to listen to, right? And that adds up to how the speaker can engage the audience, and that adds up to how he can effectively deliver a message. All right? Now, if you're not so gifted as a speaker when it comes to your voice quality, there are other strategies that you can employ when rendering your speech, or whenever you're just communicating, every day to anybody. So pitch is the next one. Highness or lowness. High pitch, low pitch could indicate certain emotions and certain messages. Like you don't say your condolences, for example, in a high pitched way. You also don't address or say sorry in a high pitched way. All right? Volume, loudness or softness, again, would also connote a message. Intonation, the rising and the falling. Not only the tone, but also a certain message. Like, for example, rising intonation may be a question and may connote a certain emotion, while falling intonation, low pattern or falling pattern, expresses a statement or a certain kind of emotion or tone. Even the rate, how fast or how slow you would say something, can indicate a message, can indicate whether you're emphasizing on an idea, and even indicate your present condition or emotion, like feeling energetic, feeling nervous at the moment. All right. Now take note, I would not give one or specific interpretation to either what a high pitch delivery of speech means, what a loud, what a low, what rising and falling specifically, what do this mean? But I would always just say could, no? The tendency, the tendency, the possibility that this kind of pitch, volume, intonation, or rate would say. Okay? Because I don't want you guys to be boxed with the idea that whenever a person says, whenever somebody talks in a high pitch, it means that he's always angry. Like, for example, Mr. Datu, your advisor, your teacher for so many years, and my husband, was he low pitch or high pitch most of the time? Is he a high pitch or low pitch most of the time, Mr. Azarcon?
Miss low pitch.
Low pitch? Uh-huh.
Mostly miss when discussing.
When discussing. Okay. What do you think? What about when communicating to you? Like when talking to you, low or high pitch?
Because I don't really talk to Sir Datu that much
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
since
Oh,
grade 7.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, okay. Thank you, thank you. Mr. De Vera?
He speaks in a very high pitch, especially when he's excited.
Mm-hmm. Okay, high pitch. Correct. Now, I must say that when it comes to pitch and volume, most of the time, he would be loud. He would be high pitch. Or maybe I'll refer to just the volume. All right, loud. Okay, but it doesn't mean that he's angry all the time. It doesn't mean that he's shouting. All right, but knowing the person and knowing that that is just his natural way of sometimes emphasizing on things would not likely make you judge him or a person angry right away. Okay? So you know what I mean? You don't just uh, you don't just right away judge that high pitch means this and that. Okay? Because at the end of the day, you have to consider everything. The personality, the context, the message, the verbal, no? For you to critically comprehend what he really wants to say. All right? Questions about this so far?
Miss.
Okay. And these are other types of nonverbal communication. So other than how we say the statement or the words, these are other nonverbal and not paralanguage that help deliver our message and that help others comprehend our message. Facial expression. Hmm. You know, President Duterte, I don't think he says a lot with facial expression. Do you agree? He doesn't say a lot with regard to facial expression. Like I would often in the speeches that I watched and evaluated what to show you, there's not much to his facial expression. What do you think, Mr. Dimo?
I think Duterte didn't show too much of a facial expression. He at some point of the speech he looked mad, but he looked calm at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Not much, right? That's correct. But he had a lot of hand gestures, right? Okay, and when you search for photos, you would find a lot of hand gestures that tell something about his personality. Like what hand gesture usually would you see he's using? What? Can somebody show by turning his camera on? The common hand gesture that you see President Duterte was always using. Mr. Balmores, can you be on cam and show me the hand gesture that you often see or observe in President Duterte?
Miss, parang mga ganun siya, tas yung nagpo-point means hindi nakikita
Okay.
dito.
Yeah, yeah, we can see you. Okay, correct. Okay, and you know that sign or the hand gesture that served as his flagship gesture now when he was a candidate and up until now that he's a president. No, the fist, the closed fist, which marks, I believe, his personality, right? Head movement also matters. Whether you look below, whether you raise your chin, you look down, you look away, and so on. No, all of those would mean head movements, not only facial expression. So they say something, but I don't want you to box with the idea that when a person is always has always his chin up, that he's always confident or that he's not shy. Because at the end of the day, it may be cultural, you know. Non-verbal communication can be cultural and can be based on personality. So you always have to correlate nonverbal communication with verbal, right? Posture, eye movements, proxemics, distance between communicators, how far, how near you are with the person you're talking to. Now, like President Duterte, with the use of the podium, no? What does that say about him as a president? What do you think? He does not deliver usually his speech without that podium. Right? Now, being behind or having in front of you that podium with the logo sa Kisag ng Pilipinas tells something about who he is, and that you need to pay respect, and that you need to give your full attention to what he's saying. Haptics or touch, okay, may also communicate a message. Now, you be careful because some people don't want to be touched all the time. While there are people who likes touching people to either show sympathy, show concern, no? So that's when, sometimes miscommunication happens when you have different personalities, you have different ways of saying things. Okay, so that's why again, a lot of factors, context should be considered. Time, chronemics, time. So the context and even, being on time tells something about you as a communicator. All right? You have a meeting, or like for example, in this session, now some are here 5 minutes before the time, while some are here at exactly 8:30. So what does that tell about you as students? That also communicates a message, right? Objectics, attire, props, objects from the speaker or surrounding the speaker. Like from President Duterte's speech, what can you say about his attire? What was he wearing? He was just wearing polo shirt. What do you think does that suggest? What could that suggest? How will you contrast usually former President Noynoy Aquino and President Duterte when it comes to attire? President Noynoy Aquino, former President Noynoy Aquino would wear what attire? Mr. Fragata.
Miss Barong Tagalog.
Okay. What about President Duterte?
Miss T-shirt.
T-shirt. Polo shirt naman, Mr. Fragata. Alright. Okay, so polo shirt. Now, that also communicates their personality, and what kind of aura or attitude they want maybe people to think about them. Right? And being the President of the Philippines, whenever he delivers usually his prepared speech, there would always be what objects surrounding him. What have you noticed? What object can symbolize that he is the President of the Philippines? From the speech that you watched. I mean, he did not just deliver it on the road, right? Or he did not deliver it at home while sitting in the dining table, right? Or sitting in the living room, just like maybe some artist vloggers would do. But he delivers it with all the props surrounding him. And what were these props that tell the audience that he's the president of the Philippines?
Ma'am, I think
Mr.
it's
Estrada.
the Philippine flag.
Correct. Okay, so he should have it with him, and also some background that would indicate who he is. All right. So all of these are aspects and strategies under nonverbal communication. Now, this is what I want you to do later on, okay, during asynchronous time. So it's just a very easy task. You need to respond to different Lesson 9 channel posts. Now, indicated in every post is the class number, group of people that needs to reply in the posts. All right. So you have to show paralanguage, saying something. You have to reply using an emoji, reacting to this picture, reply using an emoji. You have to copy paste a photo from the internet, showing a photo with the visible significant hand gesture expressing love. And your answer should be varied. I don't want to see the same hand gesture, but different hand gestures showing expressing love. Head movement. So you need to criticize and analyze the two characters' head movement. So you reply class numbers 19 to 24. For posture, there is this photo. You need to choose only one to analyze. Let's say, for example, the person wearing red suit with makeup and handbag with her is what? And what his or her attitude is based on the posture. Lastly, eye movements. So you need to get research and copy and paste a picture as a reply showing eye movements showing a certain kind of positive or negative emotion. For example, for negative, confusion. So what eye movement shows confusion? So assigned to positive are class numbers 31 to 33, negative 34 to 37 to 38. All right? Any questions, Mr. Estrada?
Ma'am, when will we do this? I mean,
During
when's the deadline?
deadline, but you need, because it's not an assignment posted, but it's in the lesson channel. So I would see there whether you have submitted. Even the time will be shown. All right, when you reply. Now again, there are specific people that should work on the post, but for added participation points, everyone may post in every post. So for example, Mr. Valmores can respond to all the 6 posts. I know you would, Mr. Valmores, right? Just kidding. Okay, boys?
Yes, miss.
All right. Okay, so at the end of the day, we answer these questions as we work on the task later. How is nonverbal communication essential in relaying and in understanding a message? So two-way communication in understanding a message and in relaying or conveying a message. And you know, I also want you to think about why it is important to consider not only verbal and but also non-verbal, and also not only non-verbal but also verbal when it comes to understanding and judging a person. That we consider a lot of factors, a lot of strategies in order for us to take note of the word critically interpret the message and effectively communicate a message. Okay? You also have, take note, I also uploaded in the channel more discussion about body language and nonverbal communication. And there is an asynchronous written work task when you're done with the posts, written work task to be submitted tomorrow, okay, which should make you evaluate the speech of a certain character. So there is an assignment posted about this one. All right, boys. So that will be all for now, unless we have questions and clarifications regarding the tasks.
None, no, miss.
Okay, so if no more, then let's have our prayer. Prayer leader?
Miss. We're ready to pray, classmates.
Yes, we are.
In the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit.
As it was in the beginning, is now, and will be forever.
Amen.
In the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Goodbye, Blessed Nicasio.
Bye, miss. Thank you po.
Deal with these challenges as we think about all these considerations. We now increase our repertoire of new strategies in the new normal. All right, but when I say strategies, it's not that we just research, for about them. We just attend webinars, read resources that would give us a list of 100,000 strategies that we can use in the new normal. But at the end of the day, as a teacher, you need to critically think about the purpose of why you're using a certain strategy. the relevance of a strategy, and the reason why you're using such strategy. For example, as I share about the strategies that I use in English to teach high school students at Claret School of Quezon City, I would think about this particular purpose: promoting responsibility, among my students while providing them guidance in learning. Okay, so it's not just that the teacher gives everything, all the resources, all the input that can make them get knowledge and skills that they would later on apply and be assessed with. Okay, but there is also responsibility on the part of the students to get and learn on their own about these new skills, about this new content. But along the way, you provide them guidance in doing this, okay? In being responsible for their own learning. Such as, for example, when we make them do a research work, we can use this strategy called web quests, which is a kind of research that the students do utilizing various sources, like particularly the World Wide Web or the internet. Okay, but in this research, it is structured in such a way that the teacher guides the students along the following. Okay, so it would have a lot of phases. Not only that you give a research topic for the students, but you help them explore on this topic, giving them developing guide questions to narrow their searches, and even providing them websites that they can use, that they can go to answer these questions and get information about the topic. You need to provide instructional activities even so, no? Like for example, knowing how to cite sources, knowing what kind of websites are appropriate to use to guide this research experience for our students. And that this research work take note not only one instructional period but more. It's a process where they do a lot and apply a lot of skills in reading, in writing, in researching. Now, in the end, we don't just evaluate the content, the sources, but also the process that our students encountered and experienced in this task. For example, when I asked the students to gather data for their argumentative essay performance task, this is the kind of web quest activity that they did. Okay, so there's a worksheet that they need to accomplish when gathering information about the topic. There are questions that they need to answer, for example, about the issue or the topic. How is it evident in the country, setting the context of the issue? What are the root causes of the problem? What are the impacts of the problem to the people and the society, and so on and so forth. Now, as to answer these questions, they need to gather evidence. They need to do a research. And we even provided them types of evidence, kinds of information that they can search for and use to give background about the problem. Now, since this performance task is an integration among different subject areas such as mathematics, CLE, music, and computer, there are types of evidence that they need to look for. All right? And all of us teach them what these evidence are, how to get this evidence, for example, where to get them, and we even sought help from our librarians to provide them possible sources to answer these questions, to work on their argumentative essay. And all this they did before they were asked to develop their policy recommendation or their proposal to address an issue, a current issue. And again, another round of research, take note, was done by the students. This time, not giving background about the problem, but by supporting this claim or policy recommendation, providing arguments and supporting evidence, again, from the types of evidence that we provided, that we taught them to support these arguments. Okay, so there are a lot of skills that were involved in doing this performance task. Not only writing, not only addressing the problem, not only citing evidence, but even writing and research skills such as citing sources using a certain kind of format. All right? So it took them time. All right? But this time, I believe, was well spent because it was guided and it was relevant for them to do this particular task, writing an argumentative essay. I mentioned a while ago that time is really challenging. Okay? We used to have back in face-to-face instruction, a traditional setup, 5 days of contact time with the students. But now we only have 2 synchronous or face-to-face sessions. Okay? But we have 2 to 3 hours of asynchronous time with the students. Okay, so time when they can do other things like research prior, read prior to the lesson, and then do tasks prior to the lesson. So given this limited time, we need to really maximize this contact period that we have, this very limited synchronous time that we have with our students. Okay, so what you can do is you can turn your traditional classroom into a flipped classroom, wherein everything should not be done, during the synchronous time. That initial instruction can actually be given through homework, using sources given by the teacher, tasks provided by the teacher, input or texts, like reading or viewing texts to the students prior to the class time. So that when they go and attend your synchronous time, then that time can be well spent for supplementary instruction. Like, for example, practice activities, feedback giving, additional information on the new content, initial assessment. All right? For example, in the nonverbal communication lesson that I had with the students, I initially, before the synchronous session or the contact time, I gave them these links to YouTube videos discussing and giving samples of different nonverbal communication strategies. All right? So they were asked to access this material and to do certain tasks, for example, or even just, go through them and gain initial information about the new topic that will be discussed and worked on during synchronous session. Another homework that was given before the synchronous session was this. So there was a speech that was asked for the students to watch and evaluate, and that they have to evaluate this viewing task or this video using different nonverbal communication strategies. So even before we discuss this new content, we made them see this in a sample video. And we made them criticize whether these are evident, whether these are effectively utilized in a certain video. All right? Now, we checked the students' understanding during the synchronous time and provided how well. If the speaker, for example, from the video was not able to fully display and effectively use this, then our synchronous session would not only be spent criticizing, but also giving, ways and techniques on how they can better their speeches. So when you give such tasks, wherein you're not physically or even virtually present with the students, you need to provide a lot of guidance. All right. So for example, you need to provide the link to the new content that they need to access. You need to provide them clear instructions, even resources, on doing the task, as well as setting criteria, how they'd be graded in that particular activity, so that they would know how to do it really correct. This is another thing that we need to address in the new normal. Engaging and promoting participation, I believe, is every teacher's concern these days. Let's admit it. Students are not very comfortable participating, especially on the spot. And that not all of them, because of the different setups that they have, distractions at home, challenges in computer, in internet, they're not very engaged. Okay? But it doesn't mean that you cannot do anything about that. Okay, so you can definitely promote participation. You can definitely engage your students not only in your lesson, but through your tasks. Okay, for example, you can actually still implement games in your classes in the virtual setting. Okay, so like you can make them do bring me. You can make them engage in a scavenger hunt that is virtual, like finding items, fulfilling challenges, all that they need to do in order to learn about the lesson or apply no the lesson. Like I had this virtual scavenger hunt given the same lesson, nonverbal communication, during the synchronous session. Okay, so in the virtual scavenger hunt, the students were asked to copy and paste, and of course cite no, the source for this copied and pasted pictures, items, information from the internet. Okay, so they were asked to get pictures in order to show certain nonverbal communication strategies, such as this one, this post, eye movements. So copy and paste a picture showing eyes and eye movements, showing a specific kind of emotion, which is either positive or negative, and their interpretations should be checked by the students labeling now this the picture or the nonverbal communication as either positive and negative. Okay, and as you can see, there are specific people that may do this. So class numbers 31 to 33. So this is an example from a student, Mr. Kyle Andre Valmores. So he copied and pasted this picture showing the eyes of an angry person, I suppose, because that's the emotion that he used to label this picture. Another is this post. This time, students number 13 to 18 were asked to copy and paste a photo showing hand gesture expressing love. So I don't know why for Mr. Lance Andre Dimok, this hand gesture is an expression of love. All right? So you can later on ask the students to expound on their answer, explain why that for them is an expression of love. Okay? Now, in this, you have the option as a teacher to react, right away to the posts. You can either click like, put a heart to it, these expressions that are also nonverbal to give them initial feedback. All right. So when I don't understand a certain post or a reply, I would give a surprised emoji. Okay, so to note that maybe I couldn't quite agree with the answer, and that maybe they can edit it and search for more. Okay. So when your students have been engaged in the lesson, in the tasks, you can do more. Like for example, directing responsibility on the students. So I mentioned that learning about a topic should not only come from the teacher, but through your tasks, through your assignments and homework, you can make the students learn further, and you can make them apply these lessons. All right? So by, for example, making them engage in a group work, so they can teach one another, give feedback to one another about the lesson, no? Given a certain task. Like, for example, the kind of group work that I gave the students in order for them to explore the topic nonverbal and verbal communication is to engage in a tele or in a video conference. All right, so they themselves critique speeches, vlogs, pointed out or identified certain verbal and nonverbal strategies, even demonstrated this. And they even gave, as they discussed whether the strategies were good and bad, they even gave their own suggestions as to how the speakers in the vlog can better or efficiently communicate the message, identifying verbal and nonverbal strategies that the speakers can use. So let me show an example of a video conferencing when my students critiqued a certain vlog. So in this vlog critiquing, in this video conferencing, the students not only evaluated speakers in a certain vlog, but they also provided suggestions on on what verbal and nonverbal strategies the speakers can use and that their classmates can use when they create their own vlogs. Now, in group works, you can also ensure that there is participation and collaboration among the students. Okay, so you just have to direct them into the tasks and provide them guidance, like for example, what roles to play, what tasks to do. Now, group work, like online group forums, can also be beneficial for the students, engaging in collaborative tasks and providing support to one another in accomplishing tasks. Now, in MS Teams, in the LMS that we use at Caret School, we have features that we can use to create groupings. Okay, so via channels, for example. Later, I'm going to show you some examples. Okay, but I believe even though you don't have this kind of LMS or you don't have an LMS that you use, there are other free community platforms that you can use to promote collaboration among students. Okay, so like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, GetApp, and Quora. So in MS Teams, as I showed this example, I created channels wherein specific people are members of, and I myself, of course, as one member or owner of that channel. Now in this channel, that's where they communicate to one another, asking questions, answering questions, helping each other, providing resources to one another. Like for example, in their essay writing task or in a research task, they were providing their classmates resources to use for the individual work they note. All right, and they were even giving samples to their classmates on how to properly cite sources, like what you can see from these posts of these students. So they were teaching each other create citations in the reference part of their essays. All right, so responsibility is directed to the students to help each other, to help one another in learning the lesson, in doing the tasks, in accomplishing tasks. Now, during discussion, participation can be maximized through some strategies. We have to take note that our students may not all be very verbally eloquent. They may not be very comfortable participating in discussions. Therefore, turning their cameras on, forcing them to speak may not always be an option. Okay, so what strategies can we therefore use to maximize our students' participation in discussion? So if they're not very comfortable doing it on the spot, verbalizing their answers, then maybe you can make them write them down. All right? So your discussion can comprise this strategy of chatting, so live chat. So I believe platforms would have this option for the students to chat to their teachers, to their classmates, as a way to participate in the discussion, and as a way to answer questions, to do tasks. And you get to monitor right away their meaningful participation and engagement. Compared to when you make a few persons verbalize their answers, you only get to check 1 to 2 students' responses. All right, but in a live chat, in a minute or in less than a minute, all your students, whether you have 25 to 30 students, get to at the moment express their answers, and you get to check at the moment their responses. Like for example, in one of our meetings, when I was asking them to identify techniques that the speaker used to introduce the topic, all of them keyed in a matter of 1 to 2 minutes, their answers. Okay, so you can give immediate feedback by liking, giving them a thumbs up, or a smiley in every post that they make. Okay, now this also gives them time to think about their answer compared to answering pop-up questions. And from the students' written responses, you can make you can choose, one to two to share. And I'm sure when they share, they would not be so hesitant, and they would be able to share meaningfully about their answers because they've written down their answers first. So this writing of answers before you share them orally to the class gives them like a thinking time, a rehearsal, in order to better express their ideas and thoughts about the topic. It's another example of utilizing conversation, chat during discussion. So to ensure that really everybody gets to participate, you can even ask a certain question in multiple ways, in multiple times. So when I ask the students to evaluate the verbal strategies of a certain speaker, I created 4 to 5 posts assessing in every post a specific aspect of the speaker's verbal delivery. Like for example, in post 1, fluency. So which between two speakers can be considered more fluent and why? And in this post, assessing fluency, one aspect of verbal communication, only class numbers 1 to 8 are required to respond. Although the others are encouraged, take note that there are other posts where a certain group of students are required to key in their answers. So you would ensure that everybody really does participate. Not to mention, it would be easier for you to check, all right, whether everybody has really expressed and participated during the discussion. After discussion, you would definitely have activities, or even before, all right? And in your activities, you can promote creativity among your students. And you can even make them successfully or engage in working in your tasks, especially when you provide authentic and relevant tasks. So what is authentic for your students is very important for the teacher to consider and decide on. No, what is it that really students find natural, find genuine and true to work on, can be engaging for them, can be relevant for them. And thus, in this kind of tasks, they'd be able to display engagement, display creativity, and excellence along the way. Okay, like for example, vlogging is a very popular activity for most people nowadays. Right? So people express their ideas through vlogs. And it would be authentic for the students, especially at the moment, to also express and to also, display their speaking or writing skills through vlogging. So vlogging is a video blog. Okay, so wherein your written work, for example, or your ideas are presented or posted as a video instead of a text. So vlogging in grade 10 was made as a collaborative performance task, not only in English, but the collaboration was not only among students when they worked on the vlog, but also collaboration among different disciplines or subjects. So we have in this task, working with us, English teachers are the computer teacher, the CLE teacher, math and music teacher. Okay, so while CLE math helped out in content as the students cited evidences from CLE and math lessons and theories. Okay, so the computer helped in the technical side, so teaching the students how to create vlogs. While English would of course be very concerned in the delivery, so how to construct this vlog, how to deliver this vlog, all right? And we added some aesthetic to it, not only, technical aspects of the vlog, but also music was able to find a venue authentically to incorporate music in a certain activity. Okay? And of course, the different subject areas graded the students in different means, based on, of course, what they expect the students should be able to apply in this performance task. Okay, so in promoting student creativity, providing authentic and relevant tasks, you can definitely think of a lot of strategies. So if the grade 10 students worked on creating a vlog, our grade 7 students, to address the issues in the pandemic of the frontliners and of different people were asked to write proverbs and even publish these proverbs in digital posters. Like, for example, working alone will help small communities heal. Working together will help the nation heal. For grade 8, so when they were asked to know about diseases and explore these diseases, not only COVID-19, but different diseases, they were assigned to a certain country, exploring, describing, giving statistics, causes and effects, responses to these diseases, no, from different countries. And one was assigned to Algeria. Okay, and they presented all this information in form of an infographic. And of course, finally, it's not just about knowing the disease, knowing the problem, but at the end, like the Proverbs, you would want your students to care, to show concern. Now, as the grade 9 students were expected to write creatively, using figurative language, creating poems, they were given this task of creating poems and incorporating music in it. So music and English tied up for this performance task. So they were made to create poetic chant music video. And in this poetic chant music video, they created first poems, applied music, and even, sang this chant in order to give encouragement and support to frontliners and to everyone who is greatly affected by the pandemic that we have now. So at the end of the day, you will be, through resources, through webinars, you'll be able to get a number, 100,000 of tech tools and apps to incorporate in your teaching. But you have to think of what's going to be effective, what's going to be purposeful in your respective situation.
Wow, once again, thank you, Miss Pauline, for that very engaging presentation. She did an online demonstration, and then right after that, she presented short input on teaching strategies. Pauline is the current chair of the English uh, department of the junior high school of Claret School. Bigyan naman natin si Pauline ng virtual palakpak. Ano ba yung virtual palakpak? Before we proceed to our live panel discussion, just allow me to read out some of your comments. No, by the way, I would like to say good morning to Father Iking Longag, our Vice President. He is watching right now. Good morning, Father Iking. Such a sweet message from Miss Caroline Castillo. Hi, Ma'am Caroline. Thank you for, she said, thank you for this very informative topic. This will certainly improve my teaching method and strategies. Thank you, CAPs, she said. And then, who else? Ma'am Noemi Villanueva said, thanks for sharing your insightful information, Ma'am. And then, here's another one. From Ma'am Sosima Bautista Kamat. Thank you, Ma'am and CAP. God bless. Ma'am Baby Pecasmo said, such a good speaker. And then she also said blogging is a good strategy. Ma'am Aurelia Regasa said, thank you, Ma'am Pauline, for your demo teaching. It is worth imitating. Congratulations. Gusto ko yung worth imitating. From Ma'am or Sir June Balkin, thank you for the very relevant and timely topics / discussions. Congratulations to the organizers. And finally, from Sir Chris Herrera, he said, thank you, Ms. Pauline Dato, for sharing your new strategies in teaching. #CAP cares. Wow, sweet messages. Now let us go to the live panel discussion. Allow me to introduce two of my friends to join me in the live panel discussion. The current principal of the Basic Education Department of Holy Angel University. Please give it up for Ma'am Lisabel Gamboa. Yay!
Hello, good morning.
And then also, we have in the panel the current school directress of St. Nicholas Senior High School in Cabanatuan City, Mrs. Carmela Garma.
Morning, everyone. Happy to be here.
Ang saya ko, kasama ko kayong dalawa. Buti na papayag ko kayong dalawa. No? Buti hindi ko masyadong busy. Let us, we have so much to cover with the particular concern of online class. Allow me to say, there is a classroom tradition of excellence. We do not refute that, right? There is the classroom tradition of excellence. And when I said tradition of excellence, I meant that this classroom is student-centered, right? This is always my position. You do it face-to-face, you do it online, you do it modular, that cannot be compromised, right? And when I said that cannot be compromised, there should be a lot of that consciousness or thoughtfulness on the use of the different pedagogical approaches, right? And these pedagogical approaches must be very vibrant across the procedures. That is why it's called a process. No? Merong mga pedagogical approaches na dapat dinadala, miski ano man yan, face-to-face, online ba yan, or modular. Say for example, constructivism. Constructivism that allows students to generate or produce new insights, new knowledge, new values, new understandings, right? Because this is the impression. So if you're doing it online, if you're doing it modular, how do we make sure that these pedagogical approaches are alive, that these pedagogical approaches are there, no? So we talk about integration, we talk about reflection, we talk about collaboration, all of these things. How do we make sure that these pedagogical approaches are there, you know? Because when we speak of authentic learning, we say that authentic learning is supposed to be immersive, right? Context fluent and human sensitive. And because learning is authentic, because learning is immersive, context fluent, and human sensitive, we should not ignore the critical role of these pedagogical approaches in the process. Number two, I'd like to bring about the idea of systemic framework of integration from sparse to seamless of this online thing, no? Because you do online, it cannot be over and above of what you do. It should be fully integrated. There should be that thoughtful framework of integration where technology is part of the academic life, part of the process, no? And number one is the issue on connectivity versus connection. Kanina dun sa presentation ni Pauline, parang medyo na-catch siya ng konti, tapos medyo nag-panic yung mga sadya. This is what we say, no? It's because we are dealing with the human dimension of learning. Our issue here is not connectivity but connection. If the teacher is having problem or is having a little trouble about connectivity, so how do we shift the gear from connectivity to connection? Because there's a lot of human dimension going on there. Okay, and then there's so much to understand about how we do online learning and how we do face-to-face. There's no difference between doing it face-to-face and doing it online. There are non-negotiables, okay, that we should navigate continuously. We say that tradition of excellence in the face-to-face must be the same tradition of excellence that we have to bring in our online classes. Right, Myla?
Yes.
Now, yes, Myla, can you mention something about heat-proofing assessment or authenticity of assessment as part of the way we do teaching and learning in this time of pandemic?
Yes, thank you, Sir Narcy. First of all, I'm really happy that we had this opportunity to watch a teaching demonstration and to actually talk about how online classes are delivered. No, ever since we started school in August, for the private schools, in August, it's now November. That's 2 months of a dry run, kumbaga. No, dry run na natin ito. So, I'm sure everything right now, all kinds of learning is welcome at this point. No? Mabigla man tayo, o matuwa tayo, o hindi tayo matuwa. All kinds of learning at this point are welcome. And we really should have more opportunities like this. No, now we talk about really how to deliver instruction in this new modality. No? For assessment, so definitely, it's really a challenge. No? Yun lang simpleng recitation. Ang hirap-hirap na sa online. No? In fact, sinabi nga yun ng speaker na it's really the challenge, no? Participation. And it's the only way to assess our learners, to make them participate. But the thing is, there's really more to recitation. There's really more to just calling them by name and asking them a question and waiting for their answers. No? The breakout sessions itself, where you do collaborative activities, that's already assessment for you. So ang dami-daming ways of assessing. It's just really a matter of having that mindset of being pro-student. No, I want to be called pro-student. Yeah. And I would like to believe that all teachers should be pro-student. Meaning, everything we do from the very start of our lessons should be pro-student, pro-learning. No? How do we make them learn? And if this is our mindset, we will not go wrong in assessment. We will not go wrong in choosing material for them, in choosing activities for them.
Correct. That is why this is always my position, no? To decide decide whether to go online or it's not about connectivity, all right? It's about reevaluating or reassessing the face-to-face. How are we doing things in the face-to-face? Because what we are doing, the practices, right? in the face-to-face are the same practices that we can adopt using online or using modular. So we have to be sensitive about reevaluating or reassessing those practices and those procedures in a regular face-to-face, because we do not want to bring the same mediocre tradition in an online, and we do not want to sophisticate things with an online thing. We cannot say, oh, naka-online naman kami. And kids are supposed to learn. No, it's not about technology that's going to make your students learn, right? It's about the appropriate use of the pedagogical approaches. So we say and in using the pedagogical approaches, we are not so much of the technical. We are not dealing with a lot of these technical quandaries. We have to be very sensitive about that human condition, the realities of the human condition, right? From concept to context.
Yeah.
How do we deal with this context? How do we progress this context in whatever the modality is, in whatever the platform is? Kasi pag di natin to nakita, no? Pag di natin to nakita, parang dinadala lang natin yung tradisyon ng student ng teacher-centered sa online, di ba? Na ako pa rin ang bida maski nasa online. Ako pa rin teacher ang bida maski naka-modular, di ba? Sabi nga natin, tama na, ibigay natin yung spasyo sa mga estudyante, di ba? Enough for the students for the students to be just on the side. Ito yung patuloy nating pinapaglaban, Myla, right? From the very start. Yeah. Pinag-uusapan natin yung enabling environment, the Internet of Things, Industrial Revolution. Sana baguhin na natin talaga yung mindset natin. It's about the kids. It's about us. We have to work on the threshold of the students. We have to stop working on our own threshold as teachers, right? And we have to be very concerned about student engagement if we want to pursue authentic learning. We have to really touch a lot of this human condition across our procedures, no, and academic and curriculum goals. Yes, Ma'am Mercy, you have something to contribute.
Yes, if we focus, let's say, on student engagement, so I would like to pick it up from student engagement, and we want our students, we want to be connected with our students. So it's not a matter of us discussing this time connectivity, but how we have to be connected. So from the very start, how did we plan our teaching and learning environment in the classroom or even in an online classroom? So I would like to make use of a pedagogy where we have the two pyramids, one inverted pyramid that will be on the teacher, and then the upright pyramid that will be on the part of the student. So when we start, even in a synchronous and asynchronous class, and even in a face-to-face classroom, we always have the input. So that means to say it will be the role of the teacher. Then after that, the role of the teacher gives now an activity, but it's a guided activity so that while the student is learning the concept being given by the teacher, there is the teacher who guides the student. Then after that, the teacher now allows the student to work collaboratively with a partner or as a member of a particular group. And then from there will now be a release of responsibility, meaning to say in the upright pyramid, the lower portion will now be bigger. That means to say we are now making our students do their own work. So that means to say in an actual classroom, even if we are inside the classroom, that's how we prepare our lesson. So all the more that we have to do that in an online class. So that means to say we do not stay online for 2 hours, 3 hours. So that means to say we can only stay online 40 minutes, 1 hour. And then the asynchronous class will now follow, meaning to say there is a teacher who guides the students while they are performing their task. If we are given that premise, that means to say that's how we prepare our classroom or class schedule as well. So how did we prepare our class schedule? Did we make it in such a way that the teacher talks the whole time? Or it's a lesson, we start with a synchronous class followed by asynchronous so that we give the students time to work collaboratively with other students. So if we are making use of certain platforms, let's say it's a Zoom, Google Meet and all, MS Teams. These have breakout sessions that can actually be used by our students. Now, if we proceed from their collaborative, there is a mention a while ago in the teaching demo that there was like project-based learning. So that means to say there is an interdisciplinary kind of work that will now be checked by an English teacher, a math teacher, and all. So they made use of an example, and that's a vlog. Now, I saw in the post a while ago that even if vlog is on the a video, but you can also make use of a blog with a B. So that means to say that will not uh, it will not be difficult for the students who cannot video themselves to come up with a vlog, but come up with a blog. So it will be checked by an English teacher. It can be checked by an AP teacher. It's one work, but it may be checked by different teachers. So, but how do we even go to project-based learning? So that means to say we should have started first with articulation, so that all subject areas are in the same premise, they are in the same framework, okay, so that when they offer this in English, it's being captured by AP, it's being captured by science and all. So it's a matter of us planning. And Ma'am Myla mentioned a while ago, so we are still in the process of polishing everything. So I would like to make use of what our university president say. We cross the bridge while we are bridging it. So we are not, it's not too late for us to do remedies. So it's a matter of us looking at how we plan things so that we can give and deliver to the students what they truly deserve in this kind of learning that we are in.
Yes.
So yeah.
Responding to all of these creative tensions in order to come up or design alternative courses of action, because this is the perfect time for us to recalibrate, reconfigure things after, right? All for student achievement. We are all for student achievement, and that we should not compromise. No, whatever the modality is, whatever the platform is. And critical to the many things that we're trying to say here, trying to pursue, is instructional leadership, Ma'am Merce, right? And Ma'am Maya. Instructional leadership, how do we quality assure, how do we quality monitor, say for example, teaching learning plans, bago yan mag-proceed sa online, nasaan ang collaborative learning, for example. Because that's in a normal face-to-face, that's a casual look for, right? Where is your collaborative learning opportunity here, right? And that we have all we have to pursue also in online classes. So yung principal, tinatanong ba? Maliwanag ba sa principal yung look fors, di ba? Or sasabihin lang ng principal, sige, pwede na yan, basta bigay mo sa akin ng bigay mo sa akin ng link kasi gusto ko manood ng klase mo. No. Sabi ko, ang kumpas niya nasa coordinator talaga, ang kumpas nasa instructional leader. That's how we do layers of quality assuring, right? Before anyone can proceed to online, we have to make sure that formative assessments are okay. We have to make sure that the materials are okay. We have to make sure that the entire procedures are on set. Okay, so konting reminder lang din talaga sa mga principal kasi ang dami nagsasabi sa akin, Ma'am Myla, Ma'am Mercy, sabi ng mga principal, ay naku, wala naman pala kami masyadong gagawin kasi distance learning. Sabi ko, naku, tigil-tigil kayo mga principal kayo, hindi nyo alam ang pinagsasabi. Yung trabaho nyo dati sa face-to-face, mas madami kayong gagawin ngayon in terms of coaching, in terms of mentoring, in terms of supervision. And yun lang talagang subaybayan mo yung presence ng pedagogical approaches na to in a single learning plan. Wow, that's a lot of work to do for a principal. Kung si principal talaga is tumata yung instructional leader ng eskwelahan. And in this time of disruption, we always want that idea that all principals are instructional leaders. Yes, Myla.
Yes, that should be. That should really be. In fact, it's very easy. I can understand our principals. It's very easy to drown in all the things that you have to do, to keep up with this crisis. But really, I believe the key is always to communicate your standards. That's the first you have to do, no, as an instructional leader, para madali din that you don't have to speak to each one of them separately. Communicate your standards to all the teachers who are making the plans. No? And if you communicate your look for, kahit isang look for lang, everything will follow. No? And if the look for of the instructional leader is relevance and functionality in the lesson plans, maiintindihan na ng lahat yon, ng lahat ng teachers. No, that I have to come up with something relevant and something functional for these students. Because remember, we are in a crisis. Hindi naman tayo nasa dating panahon. Ano? We are in a pandemic. And it's very crucial how we choose our materials.
Yes.
No? Yung choice of materials natin is very crucial at this time. In fact, relevance and functionality of material has always been of paramount importance to us as teachers. No? Yung malaman lang ng mga bata, para saan ba ito? Itong ginagawa natin. Para saan? Paano ko ito magagamit ngayon? No? So talking to them, reaching out to their dispositions, no, can be done through the design of our lessons. So it is of paramount importance for the instructional leader to look for relevance in the material. The materials should be championing and inspiring and positive. No? Because we are in a crisis. They are so lonely there in their homes. Tapos mag-e-example ka ng something so depressing. No? So, material should be championing what is positive in this time so the children can appreciate their online classes.
Myla, i-clarify lang natin, yung look force ng isang matinong teaching learning process sa face-to-face, hindi yan nabago nung nag-decide tayo na mag-modular.
Yes.
Yung mga modules na ginagawa, no? Sabi ko, nasan dito ang constructivism, nasan dito ang collaboration, nasan dito ang integration, nasan dito ang reflection. Hindi ka pwedeng magbigay sa akin ng module naman na ano ba to? Listahan ng content, listahan ng mga activities, hindi pwede. Kailangan you're doing it modular, you're doing it online, you're doing it face-to-face or blended. Those pedagogical approaches must not be compromised. They must be very vibrant. And it is the critical role really of the instructional leaders to do something about this, to make sure that the look fors are there. Formative assessments, good choice of materials, value integration, points for reflection, right? Collaborative learning, all of these things must converge together in a powerful teaching learning process. Yes, Ma'am Mers.
Yes, picking it up again from Mylan, and after we have given our teachers our standard, it's about time for us to also talk with our teachers. It's only in talking with them, that's a communication. We communicated with them the standards that we want them to follow. But let's listen to them as to how these are actually translated inside the classroom. We might be looking at it from a very distant perspective, but from them who are actually inside the classroom, have we listened to them? Have we heard how they do it? And then that's where we actually come in again and then help them how they can improve, because we cannot always look at the learning plans as a guide, but we have to see how this is translated inside the classroom. And this will now be the time for us to say there is really work on the part of the principal. There is really much work on the part of the assistant principal, our coordinators, because this is the time for us to listen to them. What is really happening inside the classroom? It's so difficult for us to be observing now because we cannot just go pop in. We cannot just, unlike before, walk along the corridor. We'll already have a glimpse of what's happening inside the classroom. And then formal observation, we get to sit and then we get to see everything. We can visit and try to see how the lesson is continued the following day. But this time, we can only see so much, and we have to see the whole context when we do observation also. And this will now be the time for us to do clinicking as well, because this is the time for our teachers. I think this is the time that our teachers need our presence, even if it's not physical via Zoom, via Google Meet, but we listen to them. They share with us their experiences. Then after that, we come up with a design as to how we can actually help them, because one discipline differs from from the other discipline. So that means to say there will always be variations in terms of what particular help may be extended to a particular subject area. So again, it's not true that there is no work on the part of the principal. So this is actually more work for us, because we have to go extra mile to meet our teachers, talk to them, find time to talk to them also.
It's the same suggestion I have for all the principals that I know, no? To initiate, to pursue a lot of these collegiate conversations. And a lot of these articulations, communicating the vision, communicating the standards, communicating that sense of excellence, that vision of excellence to your teachers, and to guide them all the way, every step of the way.
Yeah.
How to go about this new thing. All right, that's very important for teachers to feel that the principal is there, that the coordinator is there, guiding them, supporting them. Right? Hindi pwedeng parang sisisihin kita pagka may kapalpakan ka sa online. Kasi ang tanong ko, ba't sinisisihin mo siya sa kapalpakan niya sa online? Ba nag-quality assurance ng learning plan niya bago sa online? Okay. It should be collegial. It should be collegial. Sisisihin ka na pagka may kapalpakan ka sa online. Pursuing quality learning for student efficiency. We have to stop blaming each other, and we have to pursue a lot of this synergy, Let's for students.
Do you have questions, sir? I'm sorry.
There are some questions here. How about what's this? How about the DMDI that we have here? It's really hard to know whether they are doing what was asked, or even the attendance they right name and then class without how many things that we can there's a guide that we have learning, right? So that is why we say we have to provide spaces for student empowerment. The same idea of face-to-face, right? Student empowerment, discipline empowerment, guidance empowerment, empowerment of the person. To what extent have we invited or engaged our students to empowerment? Dapat hindi yan yan yung isang area ng student learning na dapat talagang pagsikapan ng buong eskwelahan, yung empowerment. Kasi pag walang empowerment talaga, katakot-takot na dayaan ang mangyayari dyan. Totoo yan. But we have to admit there are some things that we cannot control. That is why we need to pursue formation, we need to pursue discipline also, we need to pursue the idea that without discipline, without formation, learning will never ever take place. And then, here's one good comment. This is a very innovative, creative, and informative demonstration of teaching English from a teacher, from a millennial teacher, combining traditional and new methods or pedagogical approaches. Congratulations from Dr. Arlinda, a shirt of Asian Social Institute. Thank you, CAP, for organizing this webinar. Wow, that's so sweet, Ma'am Arlinda. Thank you also. Okay. Yes, anything more to add to this conversation? Yes, Myla, some final notes. You have some final notes?
I saw a comment that seems to be asking about authenticity or sincerity in doing their tasks on the part of the students. No authenticity of output. If that is your concern, really it's all about the design of the plan, of the lesson plan.
Yes.
These are things yung just like cheating, concerns about authentic assessments, concerns about are they really there or have they left? No, have they left the class, etc. These are concerns that should not be our prime prime focus, no? Because if your design is student-centered, these are not going to be problems. Because the students will really stay on and be there and be very engaged with your session, with your class, no? So, wag na nating isipin kung umalis na ba sila, nandyan, paano ko malalaman kung nandyan talaga yung estudyante at gumagawa? Siya ba talaga ang gumawa nun, etc. So if we spend too much of our energies and our efforts thinking about these things, maiiwan tayo, no? Maiiwanan tayo. Maybe we can spend more of our energies thinking of the students, how we can engage them. No? Also, another note on the opportunity of available information. Napakabilis na nilang makahanap ng impormasyon. We can be very surprised with how students can navigate through this through cyberspace, no, and come up with information that you need. No? So we have to put a little more faith in them and do not spoon feed them with our lectures. No? Wag natin silang i-information overload. No? Kasi nakaka-drain din yun sa kanila. All they need from you is a prompt. No? You facilitate. After the prompts, you facilitate. You process whatever they have come up with and just present it to them in a new fashion. So have a little more faith on our students with regards to information. No? Wag nating ibigay ang lahat, hayaan natin sila ang maka-discover. Gano'n naman din dati ang ating gusto, di ba?
Sabi ko, importante lang ma-communicate yung process structure. How do you do that? Umpisahan mo sa goals. You have to communicate your goals. You don't start with you don't introduce with the you don't introduce your 16 minutes with the lesson di ba? You introduce with your goals. Yung structure dapat maano sa kanila yan, ma-communicate sa kanila yan. May mga comments pa dito, someone is mentioning about project-based. It may require more time for students to engage in, but somehow this can be a good platform for interdisciplinary instruction and learning. Sana lang sa project-based, isama din natin na hingiin sa mga estudyante yung process orientation, yung narrative ng kanilang success journey. Hindi lang yung output mismo.
Yes.
And then, communicate the standards. I love that. Thank you, CEP. Must be pro-students. This is from Sher Padrones Legahid. And another one from Miss Myra Luna Vilosis. I hope I got this right. Thank you, CAP. More power. How I wish our webinars in our division would be like this. Your faces are very engaging. Natuwa naman ako dito sa your faces are very engaging. We are watching. Not to mention the content, of course. A hashtag is stay safe, everyone. And then there's another one from Lani V. Gutierrez. The great aim of education is not knowledge, but action. Yes, there should be that great forward from content to context, from conceptualization to contextualization, because I say again that learning is immersive, context fluent, and human sensitive. No? And we are experiencing it right now. Salute to all the teachers. Not to teacher bashing, di ba, Ma'am Myla? No?
Yes.
Nasasaktan na ako pagka ganyan, pinopost-post pa talaga sa social media, pwede naman kausapin ang teacher. In the modules, lots of activities, exercises which some parents, I read from the FB, are complaining about, making it hard for them to understand the lesson. This is the module, kasi you need to, we have to, siguro, in connection with this as practical response, we have to design a program then for parents. We have to train parents also, an academy, say for example, that we can set up or we can design for parents so we can teach them how to really mentor or supervise home learning or home distance learning. Hindi yan kasi nadadaan sa parang saglit-saglit lang ng mga parents orientation. No, it should be a program, okay, running from August to April, like a parent academy is highly advisable. From Ma'am Marfiel Peñaflor, can I ask what are their opinions about the recent issues about the online classes throughout social media? What particular issues about online classes throughout the social media? Ano kaya yung ano na to? Ano kaya yung mga issues na sinasabi niya dito? Yung isang siguro gusto kong bigyan din Myla, no, Mers. Yung mga online classes natin, pwede ba? Huwag na natin i-screenshot tapos pinopost sa FB. Kasi may mga data.
Please.
Wait up.
But parang tuwang-tuwa kayo na naka-online kayo, di ba? Online kami, estudyante ko, ATM, sabi nga na, ATM, sabi nila, online class ongoing. Hindi naman alam ng teacher ko anong sabihin ng online at kung anong nangyayari at anong trahedya ang dinadala ng online, di ba? Please stop doing the screenshots and then dadali niyo sa Facebook or sa social media. No. Baka mamaya may mga magulang dyan na makakuha ng attention nyo. Hindi po dapat yan. May mga data privacy concerns po tayo dyan.
Also, sir, I would also like to share this with Ma'am Mercy. I'm sure si Ma'am Mercy would concur with me when we say we need sensitivity.
Yes.
From the online classes. Ma'am Mercy, ikaw.
On sensitivity, this is the time for us to actually listen, no, to everything. Before we normally ask how many of our students say that, how many of our parents are complaining about that. But this time, even if it's, let's say, one of our students mentioning it, so that means to say that's the difficulty that particular student is actually undergoing. So how do we address that? So that means to say yung sensitivity natin will first from the teacher, sensitivity from what's happening inside that online classroom. Then we have to listen to the concerns of the students. And these concerns may be valid. So that means to say there is a way for us to address this individually. So as they come. And then sensitivity also on the needs of our students. And then from the teacher to the students. And then, of course, we also have, in basic ed, we have elementary pupils. So that means to say, how are they doing in their online classes? Definitely, they'll tell us they don't like online classes. They'd rather have face-to-face because they want to be with their classmates. So the sensitivity there will be, how will now the teacher address the concerns of these pupils that we have? And then how do we engage our parents also in terms of how they will monitor their children? So will they be there to answer for their children? Will they be there to push their children to ask and all? And then so it's a matter of us really coming up with something to address all these things. And then sensitivity on the part of the principal, instructional leaders and all. As I mentioned a while ago, this is the time for us to actually listen and then address. We cannot always say there is one size that fits all. So it will always vary from one discipline to the other. So that's where we have to really be in contact with our teachers. Some of our teachers, let's say, are still at home, working from home, but they conduct their classes. So how do we meet them? So we always have to find ways as to how we will be meeting them. And then, of course, the most difficult thing is we are available 24/7. We cannot simply say we are only available from 7 to 4, 8 to 5, because we do not only deal with their classroom concerns, but we also deal with a need for a mental health break, because this is something different. They don't have fellow teachers that they can share their concerns with. Unlike before, if they go to a faculty room, they can already share everything. Diba? Pero ngayon, parang wala kang kausap na.
Yes.
And you feel like you are alone. A while ago when we started, di ba, Sir Narcy, parang ako mag-isa. Parang that's the feeling of a particular teacher inside an online classroom. Parang ako lang mag-isa. Then how do you talk with the students, especially if they don't respond and all.
It's
So,
the same feeling that's the same feeling during the face-to-face eh. But parang ako lang mag-isa dito.
That's right.
So we have to bring in a lot of these connections talaga. And then you were mentioning about sensitivity. For me, no, the most important and I think the most complex sensitivity to your own self. You have to reconnect with your own self and ask. So how do I see things now? Do I see things differently? In far as my vision of success is concerned, insofar as intentional teaching is concerned, you have to reconnect with yourself and then reconnect with the people around you, reconnect with your students, reconnect with his parents, and stop being reactive about things. No? And you also mentioned something about mental health. That is why this is also our position as CAP. We have to couple good academic program, academic implementation with a strong guidance program on mental health. So we also encourage schools to run sessions, online sessions on mental health for students and also for parents.
Yes.
Something that is sustainable, hindi lang yung parang mga naisipan mo lang, feeling mo lang, ganyan, ngayon. Hindi pwede. Kailangan programa talaga na yan mula Agosto hanggang April. Programa ng struktura, programa talaga na may mga financial may mga financial appropriations, programang minomonitor at programang ine-evaluate. No? Nagme-message na si Mayan Cruz, sabi niya, kailangan na sabi ko, mamaya pa kasi ang saya-saya naman ito, di ba? But we need to know. Once again, thank you, Pauline, for the sharing. Thank you, Father Mao. Thank you, Claret School, for the generosity. No? Thank you also, Myla. Thank you, Ms. Merce.
You're welcome.
Final words kayo, di ba? May mga practice tayo di ba? Myla, final
Pwede bang 30 minutes final words?
Huwag namang gospel reading yung final words. Ikaw kilala kita. Huwag kang anong final words?
Hindi. I don't think I can leave this webinar without reminding our instructional leaders, our principals, that the best way to show our sensitivity is by communicating with our teachers and checking on the load of activities and assignments and performance tasks that they give to the students. Kasi there are teachers who are either excited to give activities or they just really want to impress their principal. No, I understand all of these, but the key is nag-usap-usap kaya sila? Na? So that's always the feeling of the students. Sa dami ng binibigay na requirements, ang tanong nila, nag-usap-usap kaya yung mga teachers para kasing mag-isa lang silang teacher namin. Okay, so I think this is where the instructional leader can come in and really be sensitive, no, to pag-usapan ano-anong performance tasks ang nakapila, no, sa month na ito, and how can we, practice alignment and integration with our competencies. No, we map our curriculum so we have more time for everything. That's it. Thank you very much, Ma'am Mean, Sir Narcy, and Ma'am Merce. Thank you very much.
We really have to navigate both the personal and the professional undercurrents of this online, of this distance learning talaga. Okay. Yes, Ma'am Merce?
Yes, sir. Thank you for this opportunity. And I agree with everything that you, sir, have mentioned. And then, Ma'am Myla, as regards your last words, because communication is very important. And I think it's not too late for us to do some tweakings in what we have prepared. If we think there is something that we need to still improve, let us not be afraid to go back to what we have planned. That's the reason why we plan. We always have to go back to our plans and then try to see what works, what does not work. And then let us now remove from our perspective, from our minds, that this is how we did it. Okay, I think this will work now. What if it didn't work? So what will we do? Continue with it? So that means to say, we sit down again, plan. That's the reason why we really need to communicate. because that's the time that we will really be able to get inputs from you, dear teachers, from you, our coordinators, assistant principals, and principals, and to be given opportunities such as this from CEAP to have a discussion so that we know that we are not alone in this endeavor. We are not alone in this concern that we are facing. So it's also a sharing of experiences, and then we learn from one another. I would like to always say, we are with you in this endeavor. So hindi kayo nag-iisa dyan. So we are with you. Just trust us, communicate with us, and then we will continue building the bridge as we are crossing it. Again, to CAP and Sir Narcy, Ma'am Myla, Ma'am Mary Ann, thank you. And to all of you who have been with us from 9 o'clock and 9:30 until now, thank you.
Yeah. Di ba, Ma'am, together to get there.
To get there. Opo, tama.
Allow me to say, a teacher can be deficient in one or two areas of teaching. Configure to reconfigure, to design or redesign. And for me, that's okay. To be deficient in one or two areas of teaching. But if a teacher has to be deficient in an area of teaching, I prefer it in the area of skill, not in the area of loving and caring. Because if a teacher becomes deficient in the area of loving and caring, she or he can cause the children to abandon the race altogether. And that is not forgivable. Yeah. So if there is one true thing that shall remain at the end of the day, that is the teacher's capacity to give more. Love more. Love until it hurts. Until it no longer hurts. Thank you so much, Ma'am Mercy. Thank you, Ma'am Myla. Thank you, Mayan. Thank you, Intelligente. Thank you, Raxo. Thank you, Alan. Alam ko nandyan si Alan Humabol si Alan. Thank you sa CAP staff na nag-assist sa atin. And once again, thank you, Pauline. Thank you, Father Mao. And thank you, Claire. Thank you. God bless everyone. Let us close this with a short prayer in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit.
As it was in the beginning.
It was in the beginning, now, and forever, world without end. Amen.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.